You know that phrase, you had one thing to do, one job only. And that job, of course, well, some people might say, was to get the vote by getting people like this on board. This was a video that Angela really wanted to get removed from the social media platforms. This was Angela meeting a group of, well, voters. The only woman in a room full of voters, trying to persuade them that this time last year, the Labour Party was the only party for them. And she did a sterling job, there's no two ways about it. And then Ange, of course, turned up on that day in that very, well, eye-catching green outfit, some people might suggest, strutting up and down Downing Street, looking like a woman that was ready to take power. An uneducated woman, she's called herself, but one for the working people. This is Ange, of course, with 3 homes that we know about, all being paid for by the British taxpayer. So the heating, lighting, no winter fuel allowance problems for her. And what's interesting with Ange, she's always ready to pose, She's got a £68,000 a year videographer stroke photographer to capture every glorious moment of her time, literally, as the Deputy British Prime Minister. Now, on the plus side, you could say it's good to see somebody that uneducated, her words, to achieve such high office. On the other side, things are not going too well with her and our Keir. Let me explain. Good to see you today, chums. Thank you so much as ever for taking the time out for joining me. It is a difficult thing. A power struggle in any world is tricky. That's the problem. We haven't done a wave, have we? Sorry. That's the problem, when you have, it doesn't matter, I know I've worked in many different industries, and suddenly, you have the person who writes the hit song and the person who produces the hit song, but they don't necessarily like each other because they need each other for one reason only, business. Now, it doesn't normally take too long for things to fall apart behind the scenes. And you would have thought that Sir Keir Starmer really would have wanted to keep, well, our Ange on side. After all, as I said, she did her bit, rallying the vote, the much needed vote, of course, that they needed to get that very slim majority to get back into power after 14 years in the wilderness. And after 14 years in the wilderness, the Labour Party could only find Ange to be the Deputy British Prime Minister. They could only find Rachel Reeves to be, well, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, even though she's got a very checkered CV. And then we had this man, Jonathan Reynolds, a man that lied about his CV, but apparently is, well equipped to be the Business Secretary. The former Home Secretary, Jackie Smith, sometime media darling, pundit, and of course now back in the government, says that doesn't really matter. They should be judged on the job that they did. We're looking at Jackie's expenses problem ourselves, so she's not exactly a great thing to bench it upon, right? But according to a source, you see, our Keir and, well, the lovely Ange are not on the best of speaking terms. And this is simply because, get this, she believes that when Keir goes on holiday, she should be put in charge. Now, given the fact that we've got a problem with the Birmingham bins, British Steel's falling apart, and there's literally nothing to stop immigration, migration, whatever you want to call it, it's literally crumbling around. Would you want Angela Rayner to lead the charge while Keir goes on holiday? Well, apparently he feels the same way. And according to a very well-placed source, Angie's miffed about this and getting more angry by the day. This is because she's a woman, apparently. No, it could be the fact that he doesn't either believe you can do the job or indeed you're ill-equipped to do the job. You see, Ange had one job to try and solve that bin strike, and it didn't exactly work out. An idle threat for the army, well, that didn't come to anything either. And clearly, Sir Keir doesn't want to be lumbered, labelled and stuck with somebody that can't get things done. After all, he phrases it, my government, in his letters, right? So the bigger issue now is, can Keir and Ange resolve their differences? Well, in public, they're all smiles, but apparently behind the scenes, it's more spitty. A little bit like, shall we say, Larry the Downing Street cat. You get the picture? Neil Sean, Hyde Park, London.